Poor little billionaire millionaire. He had to be
It's
embarrassed.
so
He
hard.
had a hard life.
He's the baby.
And I'm the beanie. Welcome to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023.
Whoa, some direct eye contact.
I really wanted to look into our audience's eyes. We're your hosts. And we started this podcast because 2023 was a weird and goofy year for movies. You had 2 strikes.
Count them.
Count them 2. You had 80 for Brady, 65, Strays, Cocaine Bear, George Foreman, and the long title George Foreman.
Yeah.
Barbie Oppenheimer. So it just felt like maybe we should talk about it for years after the fact.
Yeah, more than 2 now.
If you like this podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon, reviewing, rating, and or following on Instagram. Plus, subscribe to our YouTube.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today instead of Megan, because it's not free anywhere to watch?
Instead of Megan, which we tried to watch this morning, and then
We got April Fool pranked by Bloomhouse.
We got April Fooled in July.
Yeah.
They never talk about. It's always Christmas in July for some reason. We're talking about the Beanie Bubble, which you may not have heard of because it is an Apple TV Plus original.
Yeah.
So the synopsis is Ty Warner was a frustrated toy salesman until his collaboration with 3 women grew his idea into the biggest toy craze in history. What were your first impressions when you heard about this movie?
Okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
Just add it to the list.
Yep.
Yep.
I didn't really care about Beanie Babies. They were before our time. So, I don't think we were the target audience.
Yeah. No,
Now,
definitely.
if this was, about Funko.
The craze that swept the nation.
What would Funko... What's the alliteration for Beanie Bubble? Funko...
Oh.
Fandom.
Something about just like being in a funk.
The Funko Bunker. It's not alliteration, but
yeah.
It rhymes-ish. What were your first impressions?
I think it was just there's another to add to the list of one, overall 2023 movies, but then also movies about corporations.
Yeah.
Or like products, which has been a trend specifically for 2023, but also beyond. And I have like stronger memories of Beanie Babies. Like, I don't think, I was freshly born.
Sure.
Towards the like very end of their craze. So it was more just like, I remember having the toys around. And I know I had stuffed animals that had, like, the tie tag on them.
I had them, but it wasn't like...
I wasn't, like, I must retain the resale value of this in the way that I think if we had been born, like, 5 years earlier than other kids had for some reason. Yeah. So the trailer for this movie, I had not seen until I was looking stuff up about it. And it's interesting. It's really dramatic. It's got Ty Warner, like, opening, saying, America's great because you can be and do anything that you want. It's like that whole speech that he's giving to the kids at one point, where he's like, this is the greatest country in the world. There are limitless possibilities, and you can do whatever you want, or, like, whatever you put your mind to. And then it cuts to a pink plush cat that's, like, their first iteration of toys, and their, like, bank meeting and stuff as they're opening up the business and everything. There's really, like, pumped up music on Ty for the first half before it introduces the women that are around him, and then eventually the music changes to a cover of Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity, which I was like, what is this tone shift?
That's weird.
And then there's text that flashes between different scenes of the movie that says fortune, fame, betrayal, greed, power, collect them all. So it's a really good trailer.
Yeah.
It doesn't match the tone of the movie. And I don't know, I kind of wish the movie was truly more in line with this tone. Because,
Sure.
I would be interested in this, it's, almost like they were trying to do, Wolf of Wall Street, but with Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I still liked this movie, but it was just oh, this is... I don't know if I would be able to immediately tell that this is, a straightforward comedy in the way that it was marketed otherwise. The cast?
The cast.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Galifianakis
Mm-hmm.
is Ty Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Banks as Robbie. Sarah Snook as Sheila. Geraldine Viswanathan
Mm-hmm.
as Maya. Tracy Bonner as Rose. Carl Clemens Hopkins as Jeremy. Kelly Johnson as Linda. Madison Johnson as Ava. Delaney Quinn as Marin.
Yeah. So the Ty is Ty of the Ty Company. Robbie, Sheila, and Maya are the three main women that the story focuses on. Rose is a coworker that works at the Ty Incorporation. Jeremy is a friend of Sheila that I now realize I never mentioned by name in the plot breakdown that I did, but he's around. He's her good friend. Linda is pretty much just in 2 scenes, but thematically is important.
Yeah.
She's one of the moms that starts the Beanie Baby craze. And then Sheila's 2 kids are Ava and Marin. Ava is 8 and Marin is 5 or something when the story starts. Yes. So the plot breakdown, there's a lot of time jumps and there's some voiceover narrations between the characters. So it was a little difficult to sit down and think about okay, what happened when. So I did the best that I could. If I have skipped over something, let me know. And then the beginning screen opens up with the text, there are some parts of the truth you just can't make up. The rest we did. So it starts a little bit self-aware about how biopics go.
Yeah.
So a woman, Robbie, explains that over voiceover that she met Ty when they lived in the same apartment complex together. This is 1983-ish. They bonded after the death of Ty's father, who he had a turbulent relationship with. He explains to her that he works in the toy industry. They often get drunk together at night, talking about how they expected their lives to end up. Robbie feels stuck in her job and marriage. Ty says she can do anything that she wants. Eventually, Robbie and Ty start Ty Inc. together, a plush toy company. Their design understuffs the toys, making them softer and more posable. They begin going to toy seller conventions together as the business quickly takes off, partially due to their showy styles. So they Ty is pretty clearly established as a personality. And he's you gotta put on a show when you go to these conventions. You gotta be sparkly. And then they're it shows them pulling up to the convention. They're both in hot pink outfits and all eyes turn on them and everything. And yeah. So jumping forward to the early 1990s, Ty and Robbie are doing well, with Robbie making many of the deals with other businesses. She handles the financial stuff. Ty is very particular about the designs, and he's also really reluctant to expand outside of the US, specifically to the UK, which Robbie keeps pushing for. Around this time, the new secretary Maya is hired. She's a college student just looking for a part-time job, but she quickly catches Ty's eye as she shares some of her ideas with him. That's part of her narration, and she says Maya says that the good thing about working with Ty is that he would listen to anyone, and as long as he liked your idea, then he would keep listening to you no matter what your position was in the company.
Yeah.
And then jumping to a little bit later in time, I think it's a couple months later, Ty meets Sheila and her 2 daughters, Ava and Marin. Sheila is a lighting designer that has been waiting for Ty for 3 hours at an appointment at his house. He finally shows up. She gets mad at him for wasting her time, and he finds that really hot. So he asks her out, and she says no, and then he sends a box of stuffed animals to her kids as an apology. Eventually, they start hanging out more, and Ty quickly bonds with Ava and Marin. Ava says that she tried bringing one of the stuffed animals to school with her, but it wouldn't fit in her backpack. And Ty says he'll have to make a smaller one that she can take anywhere, and then the Beanie Babies are created. So, anything that you can think of right now?
No. Okay. Feels about right.
Yeah. So Ty gets obsessed with the new Beanie Babies, but they aren't selling well. Maya is getting more responsibilities at work, including selling it at smaller trade shows where the Beanie Babies just aren't catching on. At one point, someone asked for a specific design of one of their regular plushes, and she says that design was retired, so now it's more valuable. She tells the customer the Beanie Babies are also limited edition designs, and then that guy buys some of each of them. Ty is impressed with her tactics, and that kind of becomes like their business model. Sheila and Ty are now officially dating. He takes a lot of inspiration from her girl's input. Ava draws a ghost, and Ty turns it into one of the Beanie Babies, crediting her for the design inside the tag. Maya also has the idea to put poems inside all of the tags, so that's another thing that becomes standard. Around the holidays, the Beanie Baby sales really start taking off. Moms like Linda have started creating checklists to try and collect them all, and there's lots of chatter between fans on this new thing called the internet. Maya is keeping close tabs on this growing community, telling Ty they need to create their own website for consumers. It's the first of its kind in terms of customer interaction, and they have like a fun landing page for fans, and they want to stand out from the crowd, basically.
I don't think it's going to catch on, personally.
The internet?
Yeah.
I hope not. There's another flash in time back to Robbie. She and Ty had also started dating after her marriage ended. It's pretty much after like their first trade show. Then they make $30,000 in an hour and then start making out on the way back to the hotel. They have lots of ups and downs in their relationship. There's this whole montage of them like fighting and then running the business together, and then he'll buy her something expensive and they get back together and everything. Robbie finds out during a meeting with UK distributors that they can't legally make a deal with her because she isn't one of the owners of the company. She goes to the bank and she finds out that Ty changed the terms of their business agreement, removing her from any control and then cutting her salary by 75%. Rough.
Real skeevy.
Yeah. She had made a comment. The way that they set up Ty's motivation to do this is that she made a comment that she's the one who actually runs the business, and then he's just like along for the ride, or like he's just an ego basically, and she's the one that's actually getting things done. Yeah. So then when he removes her from things, then he says like, I'm the one who's like actually running the business over here. Like he turns her words back on her, and yep. Robbie considers her options with one of their coworkers, Rose, who's worked at Ty for a while and knows what he's like. They find a recording device in Robbie's office hidden by Ty under her desk. They decide to fake a conversation saying how brilliant he is, hoping to get Robbie some control back. Ty falls for it, but Robbie leaves him anyway for the company's photographer. They go to Mexico together, and Ty is shocked that she's gone. It's this whole sequence that is pretty good, where they're like talking in her office, and Ty's whole thing is like, if they expand to the UK, then he wants to only use Jehovah's Witnesses as door-to-door salesmen, and Robbie's like, that's a terrible idea. And then they're in the office, and she and Rose are just like, that Jehovah's Witness thing, man. I didn't want to admit it, but he's brilliant. And then Rose is like, didn't you say you wanted to learn guitar or something? And then later on, Ty buys her a guitar to like try and apologize, basically. And then she goes to Mexico. There are some cracks that are starting to show in all of Ty's relationships. He proposes to Sheila, but then later he gets cold feet about actually having a family, making her question relying on him. He also earlier suggests that she gets a nose job in like a really mean segment.
Yeah, he was like, I think I'm going to get another facelift, and maybe you could get some work done on your nose or something.
We can get a family discount. And then she's like, what?
What's wrong with my nose?
Yeah. And he's very like backhanded compliment, like keeps putting her down and stuff. At one point he says something about like, well, you know, Ava could do blah blah blah, and she's like, you want Ava to get surgery? And he's like, no,
she's a child. That's ridiculous. But you're old enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's starting to see he's not a great guy. Maya also keeps getting more and more responsibilities. She's keeping the company ahead of the trends, and she drops out of school. She was studying to become a doctor. She drops out of school to go full time at the company. It's clear that she's the one who like truly understands how everything works and like what is driving the Beanie Baby craze, basically. Yeah. The country is in full Beanie Baby craze at this point, and Linda has a whole magazine just on recommending beanies to other moms. And then Ty sues her for profiting off of his product because she says she made like $300,000 in 3 months or something, basically, from all the reselling stuff. Yeah. So he's not happy about that. Maya can see, this is another flash forward-ish. This is like late 90s, I think. Maya can see that there's a disaster ahead for the company. No one else seems to truly appreciate the secondary reseller market value, and instead they want to keep making more Beanie Babies. Maya sees that that'll actually flood the market, which will decrease the company's value. The whole thing that's actually keeping them afloat is like the scarcity, and then if something goes, like if when a design gets retired, then the value of it goes up. So then she's like, we should stop, like we can't keep up with demand right now, and that's a good thing because that means more scarcity. So she offers to become Ty's right-hand person, taking care of the business's financial aspects that Robbie had controlled earlier, and then he can just fully focus on design. It seems like he agrees at first, but then actually he hires an outside consultant for the role. Maya is blindsided and feels betrayed. Rose is supportive, but it's pretty clear that she's like seen this happen before with Robbie. Maya then tries showing her true understanding of the business during a company meeting with like potential buyers to get Beanie Babies to Japan. She makes her case again to Ty for a promotion. He kind of apologizes, saying he'll make things right, and then she's satisfied to keep working at the company. She's also like, she's 22 and she's been there for 5 years or something. Like,
yeah, she started at 17 as a college freshman.
Yeah. So Sheila is prepping for her wedding. She's like trying on dresses. They're moving into a new house that they just had built, and it's like a massive McMansion. And then she's also questioning their relationship. Things come to a head for her when Ava is upset that her name was removed from the design by credit in the Ghost Beanie Babies tag. And then Sheila finally comes to terms with how insecure Ty is, and she heads to confront him. It's also the company's holiday party, and the whole company watches Ty on stage as he announces holiday bonuses for everyone in the amount of their full salary. Ty then announces their outside consultant is coming on full-time, and Maya is devastated she doesn't get the job. Ty later offers her a raise from her current $12 an hour to $20 an hour, and she quits. Sheila arrives at the party, and she can't find Ty. She talks to a drunk Maya, who warns her about the coming bubble burst. While they talk at the bar, they notice that Ty has called down from an upstairs hotel room for a drink to be delivered. Sheila goes upstairs to confront him.
It's revealed by not like his name, but the person at the bar is like, well, we don't have chocolate milk. And throughout the film, Ty is drinking cartons, like little like cafeteria lunch, single person chocolate milk cartons.
Yeah.
Just like another thing to be like, this man is a child. And like at one point he's like, I don't like when you use that harsh language.
Yeah, because people keep swearing and he's like, ugh, stop it. He also, in his breakdown to Sheila, he literally says like, I can't be a parent. I'm the child. I need to be taken care of. And she's comforting him, but she's got like that 1,000-yard stare where she's just like, oh God. Yeah. So Sheila heads upstairs. Okay, so there's an editing time cut that goes back and forth between Sheila knocking on the hotel door at the party and Robbie opening up the hotel door during her Mexico trip. Robbie opens the door to show Ty had followed her, and then Sheila opens the door in the party timeline. and Robbie is inside the hotel room. Gasp, reveal.
Yeah.
Robbie introduces herself to Sheila, saying she hates that they met like this. She's like, if it helps, it doesn't mean anything. I just like to show him who's in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's explained that after Robbie had left the company with the photographer, Ty had a disastrous Beanie Baby rollout in the UK. Didn't work out with the Jehovah's Witnesses, apparently. He realizes he can't do that part of the business without Robbie, and he asks her to come back. She says she'll never work for him again, and instead has started her own company to be the retail distributor for Ty Inc. in the UK. He's really mad at the lost business, or like that none of that money is going directly to him, but he agrees. So they had been, I don't know if secretly was the right word, but they had been working together kind of behind the scenes for years.
And throughout the film, when you don't know this, he keeps telling people not to talk about the UK deal.
Yeah,
he doesn't like talking about it.
It made it seem like he had tried it, or at first he's just like he's very pro-America in this movie. And at first it makes it just seem like he wants it to just be an American product. Eventually they start expanding, and then it seems like they just had a really bad rollout, and he's like, let's never do that again.
Yeah.
And then you learn that, like, it's just because Robbie is in charge that he doesn't want to talk about it. And then it's kind of unclear, like, what their timeline is, but it seems like they've been on and off together the entire time.
Yeah.
Ty rushes out of the hotel room to talk to Sheila, who instead punches him in the face, and then their relationship ends. So it's like he runs out the door, he pushes the button for the elevator, it opens up, and then Sheila's there, and then she just punches him, and then she's like, oh no, and then she closes the door and leaves. So the narrative kind of just like stops around this point, and it's more beginning into the like, where are they now thing. So the movie glosses over the actual collapse of the Beanie Babies, but like it's pretty much, it makes it seem like at least within the next year then the Beanie Baby bubble bursts, and people are just throwing them away, like they're worthless now, at least as an investment. And then they're like, it's a really rapid downfall, but then the 3 key women got out just in time. So Sheila had found boxes of the old ghost Beanie Babies with Ava's name in the tag, which Maya had told her were now super valuable, and she had sold all of them right before the bubble burst and now has enough money to support her kids without Ty. She buys a house. She can like put them through college.
House, car, and college for 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her friend Jeremy had been like if she was busy and when Ty like stopped being as involved with the kids and Jeremy was stepping in to like take them to events and stuff, then she's talking to Jeremy and she's telling him like, got out just in time, and you know, in more ways than one, and stuff like that. Maya was headhunted by the company representatives from Japan that were in that meeting, and they say they want her to come work for them in this new thing called Pokemon. So she goes to work for them.
I don't think it'll take off.
I hope it does. And then text on screen says that she's considered a pioneer in online marketing. And then Robbie's business made her one of the wealthiest women executives in the UK. And then Ty got sued in 2014 for tax evasion. And then it's kind of the end.
Yep.
So, things that stuck out. It's pretty good thematic storytelling. The jumping in time, I think, makes sense for this. It's like relatively linear, but then it will go back and it will show you someone else's perspective. Like the Robbie and Maya timelines especially have a little bit of overlap at key moments, because like Maya's first day is when Robbie leaves. So you see like half of a scene, and then later on you see the other half of like Robbie leaving for Mexico and stuff. So things like that were good. I liked the editing overall.
The time jumping was done well.
I thought pretty good performances from everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zach Galifianakis was the perfect casting for this weird CEO.
This more manic Willy Wonka.
Yeah. And just having Zach Galifianakis be so clean shaven is enough to make him not look like Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Like, he still sounds...
That and the hair.
But, like, yeah, hair, no beard at all. It was just like, oh, yeah, this is just some weird guy.
Yeah. And then he had a facelift, or Ty says that he had a facelift, and then later on he's like, I'm going to get another facelift, and then by the Where Are They Now section, he's kind of just like so smooth.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite look like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was good. I know, so in our episode for The Killer, then we had a whole thing about narration, and I feel like it works for me enough in this one.
Yeah, I thought this one worked too.
There were some things that felt occasionally cheesy, but that was fine. That might have been more of a writing thing than the actual narration, but yeah, especially having the 3 key perspectives, then it felt like it made sense to show like who, or like to help you keep track of who you were aligned with, because they never have Ty at the center of stuff. It's always the people around him, and they also explicitly say that, where they're like,
this isn't his story, this is ours.
Yeah. Anything else that stuck out?
No. This is, unfortunately, content-wise, for this podcast, the movie was solid.
Yeah.
So there's not much for me to, like, yeah. X, like, whatever, like.
I don't think I have much on it later, but so we've seen Tetris.
Yeah. You can watch that episode.
That's true. Also an Apple TV Plus movie.
Yeah.
And then we haven't seen Air. We've seen Barbie. I'm trying to think of the other. It's like, do you count George Foreman?
Blackberry.
Blackberry is the other one. Yeah.
One,
yeah. You said you thought Tetris was better.
I like it more, for sure, so I probably think it's better. But, like, not drastically better.
Yeah.
I think Tetris was more fun, and this was more character compelling.
Yeah.
I would say. Like, this one gives more background on more characters. Tetris, you get, like, 3 real backgrounds.
And the Goofy story.
And then Goofy story.
Yeah.
But then it's fun. So that's probably why I liked it more. And then it was also just more stylistic.
Yeah.
In terms of how they filmed and stuff.
I like the stylistic elements of Tetris. I like that this felt more grounded. Because, like, watching Tetris, it's fun, but, like, with the car chase stuff, it was like, okay, well, this definitely didn't happen. With this one, I was like, this felt like, whether or not it's true to real events, like, it feels pretty believable with everything, because they established the characters really well. So, I don't know. I kind of was more into this immediately after watching than my memory of Tetris right now, at least.
I feel like with Tetris, because it's about a video game, they sort of made the movie feel more like a video game. Yeah. And I think I liked that.
Yeah,
and like this is about Beanie Baby, so like they can't. Yeah. Like it feels like a stuffed animal.
They tie it kind of with that ending thing of like there's always going to be someone else playing the game is the part of the narration, and then it shows like NFTs, Tamagotchi, like other things that like caught on really briefly. The
Funko was not in it. I didn't see Funko.
No Labubu either.
Labubu's too new. But Funko wasn't in it, which means Funko lasts forever.
Funko's a solid investment.
You hear that, people? Buy Funko. I have no stakes in the matter, but buy it.
Yeah, production facts?
Production facts.
Yeah. So it was released July 21st, 2023 by Apple TV Plus.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah. It's an hour and 50-minute runtime, and it's rated R. It was not as well received as I would have expected.
I'm not surprised.
It has a 46% tomato meter with a 55% popcorn meter, 49 out of 100 from Metacritic, and then a 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb. The Beanie Bubble, or the Rotten Tomato consensus says the Beanie Bubble's cast makes the movie an easy watch, but that enjoyment is lessened by its shallow treatment of the real-life story.
I don't feel it was shallow.
I don't either.
Knowing the little amount that I do of the real story,
Yeah.
and I know you know more than I do, I don't see a better way of telling the story.
The only other thing that I can think of is that you make it truly in the same vein as the trailer tone, where they're just like, I think you have to ham it up with, and like that feels like the wrong move in the way of like, you do the dramatic lighting. There's that one shot of Sheila in the garage where the light falls across her eyes, and that was like
film noir.
Yeah, and I think we kind of laughed at that because it felt like tonally so out of touch with everything else. But that shot is in the trailer.
It's a good looking shot.
It is, but like stuff like that where they show that like, I think they wanted this to be more of a Ty is intentionally being two-faced or that kind of, or you know.
Yeah.
Like.
I mean, Ty throughout the film is gross.
He's gross.
Like, instantly, how he is with Sheila's daughters.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh god, he's using the kids as market research and designers without any compensation.
Sheila also says, like, I don't date. Like, she's like, I don't want to date you, but I don't date. End of sentence. Because, like, she's like, not until my girls grow up. Like, she's very protective of them. Yeah. And then because he bonds through her kids, then she's like, he like worms his way into her life, basically. And she says she doesn't want to, or like she's made the mistake of relying on the wrong men before, and he's just like, I would die before I would let you down. And yeah, it gets gross and stuff. But yeah, I don't know how you make it less shallow. It didn't feel that way to me. I guess like couching it in the actual timeline more, but
actual timeline, like
I don't know.
The only like shallowness is that like of the characters, they go into Ty's background the least,
which was the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't need. He's a bad dude. Like I don't know. I don't need to know that. Oh, he actually grew up in a Frank Lloyd Wright house.
Yeah, we found out he did. He says that he grew up in like poor and stuff, and then his parents owned a house that was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the one thing that I wish it did focus on more is the actual bubble burst at the end. I could find that to be like cathartic if they were trying to make it this like a good for her movie thing where you're just like yeah, they did it, they got out, and then you see him, you know, being crushed by financial insecurity and stuff, but instead they're just like, he got sued in 2014.
And I think it's because even with the burst, he had already become a billionaire.
Yeah.
So, oh no, his one product isn't selling incredibly well.
Yeah.
And now he has to be a billionaire without making more.
Right.
Like.
Yeah.
So there's only like, yeah, he probably would have been angry.
Mm-hmm.
But
we just never got like that.
Then 3 years later, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
He's like, oh wait, I still have billions of dollars.
Right. Yeah, something.
I'll just fire my employees.
Yeah. There was a New York Times review that claimed it was the worst of the corporate biopics of the year. They specifically mentioned that Tetris and Air were like the really strong ones. So
I've yet to see Air.
Yet to see Air. Guess we'll watch that soon.
Surprised that Blackberry wasn't mentioned because like.
Yeah.
It is, from what I understand, the best.
Mm-hmm. But. Yeah, I don't know when that was written in relation to Blackberry. Maybe it hadn't come out yet. And then other reviews called the script cliche and then overall understuffed, which I thought was funny because of the way that the toys are.
Yeah, that's funny, but if they had paid attention, Understuffed is actually innovative and better.
It's posable.
And so, not accurate review.
That's true. The budget for this movie is an estimated $50 million. I got that number from a very unreliable source. And and then also Google AI was just like, it was $50 million according to DeviantArt. We're just like, what?
I would guess 30.
Yeah. So
just
I'm
with
thinking
the big name actors.
20 to 30 also just for like the production design of trying to get all those Beanie Babies alone.
That's true.
Yeah. And then as far as box office / streaming numbers go, I have truly no idea. Yeah, there's no information. It's not on any of the streaming trackers that I normally find stuff from. As far as I can tell, it didn't have like a limited theatrical release or anything. It kind of just went under the radar. There was a different podcast that I was listening to like a couple of days ago, and they had mentioned something that was on Apple TV, and the host said, man, if you really want to get some secret information out there, like under the radar, just put it on Apple TV and no one will ever find it. Production timeline for this movie, pretty straightforward. Again, pretty limited information. January 2022, it was announced that Apple TV Plus had acquired distribution rights for the film. It was the first film ordered from a first look deal between Apple TV and Imagine Entertainment. This movie was produced by co-founders Ron Howard and Brian Grazer, among others, and then it was executive produced by Zach Galifianakis. So, good for Zach. Yeah. So, we saw the credits and we were like, the Ron Howard? April 2022, filming began in Georgia. It seems like it was parts of Atlanta and then a couple other places outside of it. And then July 2023, the movie came out. So pretty straightforward, pretty, a book came out, scripts developed from the book, movie came from the book. It's got 2 nominations listed on IMDb from the 2023 Hollywood Music in Media Awards, Best Original Song Feature Film category for the song This, which I don't remember from the movie right now. But it was for Damian Kulash and Timothy Norwind, otherwise known as OK Go. Or there's some of the members from OK Go.
One of the directors.
Yes. Yeah. And then 2024 Golden Trailer Awards for Best Comedy. Because again, it's a solid trailer.
Yeah.
The tagline for this movie is "The Crazy Behind the Craze." I like it.
That's good.
Yeah. The character names were changed from the real women.
So we're gonna say them now.
Yeah. So Robbie is based off of Patricia Roche, who, like, pretty much similar beats from what I can tell. Like, she was working at a gas station. She and Ty became friends. Ty was kind of a loner guy. And then he was like, his dad died and he was like, do you want to start a business with me? And then she learned everything about the toy business and then it was successful. And then they had a relationship, broke up. She was still part of the company, all that same stuff. So Ty did name Patty the Platypus after Patty. And then the poem inside the tag was attacking her. It says, ran into Patty one day while walking. Believe me, she wouldn't stop talking. Listened and listened to her speak. That would explain her extra large beak.
Dude, Ty is a baller. This guy comes out and he's like, I grew up so poor in my house.
Frank Lloyd Wright house.
Designed by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Mm-hmm.
And then he proceeds to steal credit from everybody, including children. And then when they have the audacity, not the audacity, it's like, oh my God, you have the audacity to do that, but shortened to audacity.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, actually, that was my idea.
Yeah.
He writes a poem about them millions of children and parents to read.
Yeah. Correct. And he turns you into a hot pink platypus.
Well, who wouldn't want to be a hot
Patty
pink?
the hot pink platypus. So Maya is based off of Linda Trevetti.
Linda or Lena?
Lena, sorry. Lena, again, did a lot of the same stuff that Maya is credited with. She, like, so a lot of information that I've been pulling from is from the You're Wrong About episode about Beanie Babies. And then one of the hosts in that is like, Lena was basically the resident young person that you have at a company where it's just like, yeah, you can do the online stuff and everything. But she hired her brother to create the Thai website, and he's kind of a side character in this, but they never show him as a Thai employee in the way that I guess he was in real life. She was making $12 an hour and then updating the website between her college classes. So just really, really overworked, but really believing in the vision of Thai Inc. And then Sheila is Faith McGowan. She was hired as a lighting designer, and then their whole first meeting is basically true. She turned him down, but then he blocked her car in his driveway until she agreed to go on a date with him. That's love. And
he never said sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, Faith had an unpublished memoir that was found after she died. And then in her memoir, she said she was enamored with him. Like, he was clearly very intelligent, but she also felt like she was auditioning for a role when she was with him, which I think, like, really captures the vibe that he had with people. And then he also kind of got her fired from her job because he demanded that she should ask for a massive raise at work or else he wouldn't respect her. So she asked for like a $50,000 raise, and then this lighting company is like, no. So then they fired her, and then she became financially dependent on Ty.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
Yep.
Yeah, Linda, the mom, is based off of Mary Beth. She was one of those moms that got into the Beanie Baby craze. She started her magazine. She got sued by Ty, and then she had to change the name of her magazine from, like, Mary Beth's, like, Beanie Baby thing to Mary Beth's Beanbag World. So that doesn't sound as fun.
Yeah.
But at one point it had, like, 1 million magazine subscribers.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Many of the major points from the movie seem pretty accurate to real life. For one, Ty screwed over a lot of people who worked for him. And then lots of the ideas that made Beanie Babies iconic came from Maya/Lena. Ty did follow Patty to Cancun on her trip with her new boyfriend, so that was a real thing.
Normal.
Yep.
I've done it.
Yeah. Who hasn't? And then he had a couple decades-long relationships, but he never married. He never had kids. His sister will actually inherit all of his money, and they are not close.
Yeah.
So she gets, like, millions of dollars once he dies, and he's refused to financially support her, apparently, in the past. So good for Joy. Faith's 9-year-old daughter did design the ghost Beanie Baby, and then she was originally credited, and then Ty later put his own name on it. So he stole from a 9-year-old. That's fun. He did give everyone their own salary as a holiday bonus one year, so that's, like, the nicest thing that he's done. And then also related to the Christmas party, Faith found out that Ty was cheating on her for years with Patty at the holiday party, and then she did punch him in the face. So I like that that's true.
Good for Patty.
Yeah.
Good for Faith.
Good for Faith. Yeah, not as good for Patty. No. The Beanie Baby craze really did originate from just, like, 5 to 6 moms who were all in the same Midwest cul-de-sac. One of them started a magazine. One of them happened to write freelance for People magazine, so that was part of the reason that it took off. And then that core group did become wealthy off of Beanie Babies, which led to the myth that everyone else could too. but is basically like a pyramid scheme without the like the structure of one, where it's like only the people who get invested like at the very top are the ones that make money.
Yeah.
So like this core group did, but then no one else ever really did. And then Ty did get sued in 2013 for tax evasion. He was hoarding about $100 million in a Swiss bank account. He managed to avoid jail time because the judge said that he had suffered enough due to his embarrassment in the press. So,
poor little billionaire millionaire. He had to be embarrassed.
It's so hard.
He had a hard life.
He's the baby.
And I'm the beanie.
Some things that weren't accurate from the movie. Ty may have come up with the retired design idea, not Lena.
Interesting.
So Ty was so particular with the designs that it helped create the idea of scarcity, like how they started operating, because they just ended up destroying some previous versions of designs because things like the eye placement wouldn't be right. So then it was like, well, if you have version 1 of this thing, then that's going to be worth more than version 2 that they made more of. And then there's one case, I think it's with like a lamb that the dude orders at the beginning. Instead of admitting that he just under-ordered some of the animals, he was like, oh, that design is retired. So it was more to cover up a mistake that he made instead of like a genius idea. Faith was the one that was pushing to get married, and then Ty kept moving the goalposts of like, well, when the company is at this point, then we can do it. In the movie, then Sheila is like, we don't have to get married. Like I don't need this, and Ty is like, well, I do, and I want to get married now. And he's like, it makes it seem more like he had a rough upbringing, so he's like, well, I want a family, I want to feel loved. And Sheila's like, okay, but we don't have to. Like, yeah. And then Faith and Patty were pitted against each other by Ty for years. So Patty came back to the company. She didn't start her own business in the way that Robbie did. Ty just hired her again. He cut her salary by 75%. She left. And then eventually he was like, let's get Patty back. And then she came back as an employee. And then, so like they both knew of each other. And then Faith did eventually leave him. And then Ty set her up in a mansion so she didn't have like her own Beanie Baby Ghost money. He just provided for her, which I guess is nice, but still not as satisfying in the way that the movie makes it. And then Faith is a little sad, but Faith apparently loved him for the rest of her life. She acknowledged his flaws, but she was like, with him in spirit until the end. So that's unfortunate. We didn't talk about this scene, but it's like towards the beginning, there's a semi-truck accident on the highway, and then a bunch of Beanie Babies fall out. And it's like part of the title sequence. It's a pretty good shot because it's like all slow-mo, so it's just like colorful animals through the air. But that truck crash on the highway actually happened, and then moms were sending their kids to scavenge the Beanie Babies off of the road. And then Lena left the company eventually because she was still getting paid $12 an hour. She never got a raise. She asked for $120,000 at one point, and they said no. So then she left. She never worked for Pokemon.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Feels like a goofy thing to make up.
Yeah.
For the movie.
So she is/was, I don't know if she still is, but she was doing like a consultancy firm, and it seems like that went okay for a while, but there's no clear information on whether or not she actually worked with Pokemon.
Gotcha.
She's now a children's book author, so that's a good pivot. Yeah, and then this film was directed by a married couple, Kristen Gore and Damian Kulash.
Gotcha.
So Damian is with the band OK Go. This is both of their like directorial debuts, as far as I can tell. Kristen is more of or she's got several writing credits.
I believe that he technically has directing credits.
Oh, for their videos?
For all OK Go videos.
Then it's their feature debut.
It's an interesting...
What a pairing.
Pivot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not like a stylistic film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I would have expected more.
Based on OK Go's style?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that might be harder to translate over a 2-hour movie versus like a 5-minute video, which are like, they pack a lot into those.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But there are co-writing credits for the movie for Kristen Gore and Zach Bissonette. It's based on Zach Bissonette's book, The Great Beanie Bubble, Mass Delusion, and the Dark Side of Cute.
A little long.
A little long. They did not go with that subtitle. They learned from George Foreman. And then Zach Bissonette also has like a consulting producer credit for the movie. And then Kristen Gore said to Variety, "I didn't think that I cared about the Beanie Baby craze, but after reading the book, we both realized that within this incredibly wild story, it was full of really compelling people. There was this insane tale about one of the most absurd crazes in American history involving tiny beanie bag animals that were $5 and became treated like gold. And that's already so bizarre and weird, but really what spoke to us in this book were these 3 women's journeys that were so instrumental to the phenomenon. That's what hooked us on wanting to tell the movie and making their journeys." So I'm curious, like, how they got the movie anyway, just because, like, neither of them have directed a feature before. They weren't, like, Beanie Baby stands and stuff. I'm just curious how, like, deals like that end up getting made.
Yeah. I mean, they're both connected because I think she's also a writer or was a writer for SNL.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm sure they know the right.
You gotta know someone.
Yeah.
So the filmmakers didn't meet any of the real life people that the events were based off of, and then they admit that they took some liberties with representing the women's stories. They renamed the characters because they said like they were more amalgamations and not like 1-to-1 for each of the people. Because I wondered, like, did they have a weird like rights issue where they could say like this is based off of Ty, but they couldn't say the real people? But it doesn't seem like that was the case. And then they didn't reach out to Ty Warner, and they instead said they were using him as a stand-in for the American Dream. That makes sense to me.
Sure.
I don't think you need Ty's involvement.
No.
Then they also said they wanted the happy ending with all the women to make viewers mad at the system/Ty and not any of the individual people involved. This is supposed to be like very anti-capitalist, anti-consumer, all of that fun stuff.
I felt what they were putting down for Maya and Sheila.
Yes.
Robbie / Patty is also kind of a bad person.
It's like, yeah, it's hard to defend Robbie.
Yeah.
When she, like, it's like, oh, she's smart and like she's getting what she deserves financially. I'm on board there. But then also just like part of her narration when she's in Mexico with the photographer dude is like she says like one of the best feelings is when you finally leave Ty. But then you learn later that like
she never left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And just like how cold she is when she meets Sheila in this film.
She's just
as psychopathic to me as anything that Ty is doing.
I feel like with that montage especially, they really established that like these two are like pretty well matched.
Yeah.
And yeah, for better or worse, basically.
Just like Robbie is just so like it's not personal.
Yeah.
I just like to show him who's really in charge.
Yeah.
And it's like you're talking to someone who let her kids get attached to someone.
Yeah.
And you're just like
business baby.
Oh, well.
Like, yeah. the You're Wrong About episode describes Patty from the book, which I think they're using the same book.
Probably.
But apparently she's described in that as Liza Minnelli.
Yeah.
So I'm the jump from Elizabeth Banks to Liza Minnelli is hard in my head.
Yeah, I mean, the hair that Elizabeth Banks had at the end.
Yes. Closer. Yeah.
And I could see it more.
Mm-hmm. But I like
Both charismatic.
that more like manic
Yeah.
energy thing is like, okay, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
And then so back to the co-directors. They said that they didn't intend for this movie to be part of the movies about products trend, and then Kristen Gore said she finds it kind of a depressing move that movies are going in this direction. She's like, I think we all are trying to find human stories, and then it sucks that we're looking to corporations for those human stories.
Definitely.
So they're kind of like, oops, we're part of the nostalgia craze.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if because this movie was so under the radar that if it impacted that much or helped much. So
I would say most people have no idea this movie exists.
yeah.
So I think they're all right.
Yeah. And then just as a where is he now, Ty Werner bought the Four Seasons Hotel in New York with his Beanie Baby money. And his current net worth is $6 billion.
So he's still a billionaire?
Yeah.
So no repercussions?
Pretty much as soon as Beanie Baby collapsed, he just became a full-time hotel dude. Like, it was an immediate transition. He none of this impacted him. He's fine. Like,
Is the toy company gone at this point?
So they're around. I think, like, legally it still exists. And then every once in a while they've made, like, there's Beanie Babies, and then there were Beanie Kids, and then there was another Beanie, like, Buddy or something. So it's like every once in a while they try and relaunch something, and it never recaptures that phrase. So, oh well.
Yeah.
So, like, I also learned that he hasn't given an interview since 1996, but apparently he did praise this film for capturing the excitement of the Beanie Baby era, but then he criticized the fact that it departed from the real facts, and I would love to know what his perception of events is.
Interesting.
Yep. So, that's the Beanie Bubble. Do we want to rate it?
Yeah. We rate movies out of 4 with 5 options. 0 out of 4 is, oh no. Oh god, oh no. 1 is, it was a movie. 2 is well made or enjoyable. 3 is enjoyable and technically good. And 4 is Oscar worthy.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you give it?
I gave it a 3.
Yep.
I thought about lowering it.
Oh.
Honestly, after watching the trailer.
Interesting.
Because I was like, this is what this movie could have been.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick with 3 because I do think it is enjoyable and technically good.
Sure.
The editing and the performances and, like, production design and stuff. I enjoyed watching it, and like, I hadn't heard anything about it, so I figured it was kind of under the radar, but, like, if I didn't know that critics didn't like it, then I don't know if I would keep considering lowering the score.
I give it a 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely well made.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed a good chunk of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think Tetris is a little bit more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fair.
Gaming the system a little bit to lower it to a 2.5.
I think 2.5 is fair for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
We like to talk about other movies that we've watched recently.
Mm-hmm.
Mission Impossible 2.
Yes.
I don't think we talked about Mission Impossible 2 yet on this podcast. Did we?
Did we? We've been going through them. I can't.
If we did,
truly,
our bad.
Cannot remember where we left off.
We also watched Mission Impossible 3.
We did.
So
4 is next.
4 is next. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know. We haven't watched movies much in the last week.
We watched something that has escaped.
We did watch something, and I forgot to put it on my list. Oh, Saturday Night Fever.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Boy, what a time capsule.
Yeah. Not what I expected.
Yeah.
Truly was expecting disco movie.
Yeah.
It was disco movie plus
sad,
dark New York City in the 70s
Italian
movie. I think John Travolta did a good job.
Yes.
I think he was very good. I think all of the acting in that was good. Because that also comes in a time of cinema where acting was good.
Yeah.
Like, everyone feels authentic.
Yes.
All of the scenes, like, I feel like the 70s does this, I don't want to say the best, but the most consistent of, there are parts in this movie and many others in the 70s where the scene doesn't matter in the sense of like what we're learning, but it matters in just like we're seeing them be normal people. It's like they're just having conversations and they're just doing small things, and it's like the director's like, okay, you guys are gonna go over there and get to this point, and then the actors just like do what they would, and it just feels natural. And then like obviously the people in this movie are pretty but they still look like real people, and we've talked about this a lot.
People don't look like real people in movies.
They're all just manufactured, and I'm good looking, I guess I'll go into acting instead of just like actors are actors.
I keep thinking about that woman who was recast for The Accountant too, and just like how they made her so much more Hollywood. But I think it's maybe because like it was physical film, then you kind of just had to like let the camera roll and see, like you can't start and stop as easily as you can with digital stuff. So then people just have to do stuff, and it feels very believable because you're basically just being watched as like you have dinner with your family.
And they had to be on it more.
Yeah.
And I think actors have come out of practice of that, or just not grown up with that, because we talked about our favorite scene in Kraven the Hunter is he's like got you little bro,
happy birthday,
happy birthday little bro.
Yeah.
And that scene is just from one angle, and they don't cut from it.
And it feels like a mistake.
and it feels jointed. Like the acting is clearly not, like they look uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I can just feel it.
Yeah.
And like they're just not used to that anymore because there are so many different angles that we can do now, because it's just like, oh yeah, we'll just move real quick, and then and so I think that I feel this is the most pretentious I feel I've ever gotten with film, but that I think has actually, like, that side of digital film making has hurt the movie and the story.
Watching Saturday Night Fever was like, I can't recommend this movie. Like,
no,
it's a hard watch.
Yeah,
and it's like
it was made so well.
It's really well made, and after immediately watching it, it was like there are some really good scenes, and like I really like this aspect of it. The overall tone, it's now too of its time to be easily translatable to 2025 in terms of slurs and how women are treated.
Yes.
So,
but if you do want truly time capsule of like, I think they probably portrayed this setting really realistically, then you should watch it. If you want to see what that genre of New York City in the 70s, it's mostly Brooklyn. Yeah. If you want to see what that's like, I
get it.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't want to say like burn this movie. I just also don't think I'll watch it again.
No, I don't think I will.
If I want that same vibe, I'm just going to watch Moonstruck again. If I want
Happy New York.
If I want Italians having good conversations, then I'm just going to watch that guy talk about the moon.
Well, I think that brings us to a close for this episode of Year of the Movie podcast. If you like it,
Thanks.
Do the things that you gotta do.
Follow us places. Keep up with us.
Leave comments.
You can check out our Craven the Hunter bonus episode on Patreon now. It was originally slated to be a 2023 movie, so that's why we're talking about it. It's a weird one.
It was a weird one. Leave comments. We'll talk about them on our other podcast, the Virtual House Sessions. But otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.